So let's take a look at today's opportunity/threat, as Dave Brailsford would have it. 152.5 kilometres, down from 155.5 from Ypres in Belgium and finishing in Arenberg, porte du hainaut. As well as the cobbles themselves, of course, there's the fight to be the best place going into them, so expect plenty of nervousness and jockeying for position up at the front. The first section of cobbles come 87 kilometres into the stage. That's the Carrefour de l'Arbre sector, just over a kilometre long. The longest stretch overall is the next to last, 3.7 kilometres, and the seventh and final sector is 1,600 metres, just 6 kilometres from the finish. So the total cobble distance is down from 15.4 to 13 kilometres, but that's unlikely to stop them having a disproportionate impact on the race.
Sector pavé number 8.
This is a difficult section in Everland to Le Pont Thibault, and you can just see almost the crown there. Now, the best place to ride in the dry is on the crown of the cobblestones. It actually slopes down from the top down towards the side. Now, if you can hold it in the middle, and it looks very much as if that's Matty Hayman who's holding it in the middle, that is really the smoothest part of the course. And trying to turn around the corners on cobblestones like this, well, try taking your bike onto an ice rink at one of the stadiums if you can, and see if you can ride your bike across it. And that's roughly what it is like here for these guys.
Well, this is amazing. I just caught sight there at the front of the young American in his second tour, Andrew Talansky's fourth wheel at the moment. This boy is set to deliver a few surprises in his second Tour de France, I think, but they've got to be so careful now, as Nibali himself wrestled with his bike there with that sloping right-hand corner. They're on the same sector of cobblestones at the moment. Sebastian Langeveld it is who's up at the front.
That's Alberto Contador there, just going around the corner. He's got a teammate behind him just to keep a close eye on him. Contador does not want to take any risk, but you see how he's accelerating up to the back wheel of the rider just in front of him.
Contador knows that this isn't his skill at all, riding over cobblestones, but he's got to make sure he does well there so he can deliver the killer blows in the mountains. And he's lost his biggest rival today as well, which has really boosted his chance of winning the Tour de France now with Froome. Just watch this here. Oh my goodness, and he managed to ride that one out. So well done, and he almost did the same to Nibali. I think that was Lars Bohm who was going into the water there.
Look at that. This is almost cyclocross we're looking at here. I have a feeling this could very well be the Belgian rider Sepp van Mark coming out of that section of cobblestones at number 8. Nibali is riding very, very well. He's an excellent rider. He's always hovering in the wheels. Just a little bit further back is TJ Van Garderen, the red and black. Nibali, he looks pretty comfortable at the point like this.
He's looking for his team to come back and continue the pace-making now. He's got clear of that section of cobblestone, so that's 2 sectors behind. There's 5 sectors left to go. And only 46 kilometres.
To be missing. A gap now of just around about the 1 minute mark to the yellow jersey group and the now just 6-man leading group. The 6-man leading group is Louis Vestre, Tony Martin, Samy Dumoulin, Tony Galopin, and the 2 Australians, Simon Clark and Matty Hayman for Orica Green Edge. Matty Hayman must be relishing his ride here this afternoon.
Yes, I think we're seeing Contador come back into the fray now, but by the time he gets back, it'll be time to go into the next sector of cobblestones. We are almost there because we're in Pont-de-Marc.
The question is, to Phil, on a day like today, you can't panic. You've just got to ride. Bear in mind, it's only 1 day out of 22 days of racing. You've got to count your efforts. It's a question of limiting your losses.
Alberto Contador, a man of the mountains where he sprouts wings, but he's not a man of the mud and slime of northern France. This isn't his scene at all. He's got to live with it, though, if he wants to win the Tour de France, and he's got his teammates now to try and pull him back up to that Nibali group. Looking down on the leaders here, driven by the 2 Australian Orica Green Edge riders at the front. There's only 6 left up here now. Rein Taramay has fallen back to the group containing the yellow jersey. The yellow jersey, Nibali, riding brilliantly in a group of at 54 seconds, but then go back down the road another 45 seconds, Paul, and you've got Alberto Contador trying to get back into the action.
And we're not far away from the next section of cobblestones. We should be heading down towards the cobblestones of Bercé. which is a long cobblestone section at 1.4 kilometers. This is a very small group. You can just spot every now and again the pale blue jersey of the Garmin Sharp rider, Andrew Talansky. So in this group, you've got Talansky, Vincenzo Nibali, Jürgen van den Broek, men who want to win this bike race overall. And today is an opportunity for them to put time between themselves and Alberto Contador.
These are the leaders now about to bounce over the next sector, which we still call number 6. But in fact, it's one less than that. We've taken one sector out by this point at Bercy. It's a long one, Paul, and this is one we use all the time in Paris-Roubaix, and it's not very pleasant.
No, in fact, they're going the opposite way, strangely enough. Paris-Roubaix will be going the opposite way to the riders right now, but it doesn't take anything away from the fact that these are tough, bumpy cobblestones. Look at the way they're picking their way around that corner quite precariously. It's Tony Martin on the front. It's good to see Matty Hayman in here, Phil, and it's just amazing to think that that guy has been a professional for so many years, and it's the first crack he's managed to get at the Tour de France.
And this is the advanced peloton, which contains the maillot jaune. It also contains Bauke Mollema, who says he will gain time today. I didn't think he would be expecting to be riding just in front of Andrew Talansky, the young American. They're on the cobbles now. Oh, and there's one gone. That's straight over the top. One of the Lotto riders there.
Talansky's gone down as well.
Gone as well.
According to Race Radio, they've just announced the name, and that rider coming into that corner, that's Talansky just behind him. He's just actually ridden into a spectator there. Now, this is Lars Boom. You can see the championship bands around his middle there, and they've seen this as an opportunity. They said they wanted to ride this race hard. Well, apparently Jürgen van den Broek has also gone down in those cobblestones as the yellow jersey group has closed down to 32 seconds. We're looking a little bit further back here at the group containing Alberto Contador.
Vincenzo Nibali, the maillot jaune, who isn't a classics rider. There he is there. He's got a couple of teammates with him, but they've been split off by the crash at the moment.
Lars Boom now is pacing his teammate who's just behind him.
As we now see Belkin doing what they said they would do, and that would be attack the cobblestones and try and get Bauke Mollema a yellow jersey by the end of the day. But they didn't reckon on the tenacity of this rider from Italy, the champion of Italy. He's having to do the work himself now. His teammates don't seem to be capable. He's coming back.
Welcome back. 20 kilometres from the finish on stage 5, and the race about to enter sector number 3. The breakaway has now been swallowed up by the chase group, which includes the mud-stained green and yellow jerseys.
We are looking at the leading group of 16 riders. 3 sections of cobblestones to go now. This is the section from Brillat to Warlin. It's a 1.4 kilometres long, and now the real hammer is starting to go, and it's Peter Sagan who is looking for the gap.
Well, Sagan fed up of following the back wheel of Lars Boom, and indeed Sepp van Mark. Sepp van Mark probably spoiled the Belkin plan a bit by getting a flat tyre. But now, as they come, this is trying to hold off the yellow jersey here. Peter Sagan could be the next leader of the Tour de France if he gets away from the man in yellow.
Yeah, well, there you can see Vincenzo Nibali. I think for him today, he was looking to defend his position at the top end of the leaderboard vis-a-vis the other major contenders in this race. He's, in fact, pulling himself back there with his teammate. You can see the acceleration came from Peter Sagan. That's the front of the race now. It's 9, 10, 11. Well, I think it's soon going to be those 16 riders once again. The section number 3 now. This is the group of Alberto Contador. TJ Van Garderen is in this group as well. So too is Richie Porte, the world champion there. Rui Costa in the white jersey towards the front. Alberto Contador is in the fluorescent yellow jersey wearing number 31. And on his wheel is TJ Van Garderen wearing 141.
In fact, checking down the list, Paul, only Tony Galopin and Peter Sagan in this front group are in the 2-second bunch that could take the jersey away from Vincenzo Nibali. So he's doing a tremendous ride here as we get up towards the end of sector number 3.
Well, it looks very much as if it's all back together, because there is Peter Sagan. Vincenzo Nibali, Phil, there in the yellow jersey. He's riding one of the stages of his life here this afternoon. As you said earlier on, I think he's buoyed by the fact that he's got the yellow jersey on his shoulders. I think today he wouldn't have been surprised to have lost the yellow jersey, but so far he's gone to school and he's reported present and correct.
A list of the names in this front group. There are 3 or 4 riders who could swing the jersey away tonight from Nibali.
Oh, there's a little problem at the back.
And that's another rider. That is the AG2R rider. That'll be Perrault again. 2 sectors left. This is it now as we go on to sector 2 from the end. They count down, remember, and this is a massive 3.7 kilometers long, nearly 2.5 miles on this stretch.
This is a very, very long section. They're not too bad, these cobblestones, actually. If you come and ride them, they're reasonably smooth. But if you've got the power of a guy like Fabian Cancellara, you can use the length of this cobblestone section to stamp out your authority. But, you know, Team Astana are doing a phenomenal job here. They've got 2 riders up there at the moment in first and second position, looking after Vincenzo Nibali. They are dominating this race. You know, they've been criticised so much by Alexander Vinokourov, the general manager of Team Astana, throughout the early part of the season, when all of a sudden they seem to be right on form at the right time. This is Johan van Summeren on the front. He rides for Team Garmin Sharp. This is the second group on the road. Almost a minute and a half in arrears, and there in third position is Andrew Talansky. There's a lot of riders in this group, though, from Garmin Sharp. They've rallied around their leader, who, let's not forget, just a month ago won the Criterium de Dauphiné, which is a good indicator of form for the Tour de France.
Well, they've hit the same section of cobblestones now, and they've got to try and make ground at this moment. It's beginning to look quite a serious time gap for Alberto Contador at 2 minutes, and he won't want to come home, and neither will TJ Van Garderen want to concede 2 minutes. That's a lot of hard work when we get down to the mountains, but for the day today, it is so far Vincenzo Nibali, the man of the moment here, who's keeping his maillot jaune. He might lose it to Peter Sagan, or maybe to Michael Kwiatkowski, or even to Jakob Fuglsang, but it won't matter. It's only by a few seconds. And Nibali, there he is, just watching everybody in a brilliant position. He must be thinking, so far the gods are in his favour today. 13.7 kilometres to go. 2 riders there down there trying to pull clear from Team Sky.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised
Richie
if
Porte's
that's not
the second place rider.
If that's Geraint Thomas, because Thomas knows how to ride over the cobblestone. And Richie Porte. Now, this is Geraint Thomas, who is now looking after Richie Porte and trying to promote him up to position of team leader of Sky, because obviously they've lost their man Chris Froome at the start of the race. And Richie Porte, leading up to the start of this race, didn't really show great amount of form, especially during the Dauphiné. But all of a sudden, on the races around Yorkshire, he was looking like the man who'd helped Chris Froome last year, and 2 years ago helped Bradley Wiggins.
Well, can he cross the gap? That's a brave effort to try and leave the Contador group and get Porte across that gap, and it would be a terrific piece of riding if Geraint Thomas can do that. As the 2 Astana boys, then Kwiatkowski and then Vincenzo Nibali come around that corner. Kwiatkowski is the big danger at the moment.
Well, last time the Tour de France raced over the cobbles, it was Thor Hushovd who won the stage, but Geraint Thomas was actually in the leading group on that occasion and got himself the lead in the white jersey competition, and that's why he's used the cobblestones to accelerate, to get away from Alberto Contador, to try and get a little bit of time back for Richie Porte. But the 3 riders here from Astana, including the yellow jersey, are riding a stormer this afternoon. And I wonder what Alexander Vinokourov is thinking, Phil, after criticising Nibali in the early part of this season.
Well, he's become 10 men since pulling on that yellow jersey in Sheffield, and he's not going to give it up without a fight. He said he wouldn't be too disappointed if he lost his yellow jersey. That was before he started riding today, but today he's shown absolutely no intention of losing it. As they come off sector 2 now, there's only 1 sector of pavé left before we get to the finishing line. But hey, we've now got the maillot jaune heading the race.
Here's your chance to win £10,000 cash and a top-of-the-range bike in our prize draw. Courtesy of Boardman Bikes, the winner will be getting an Elite Series SLS 9.8 carbon monocoque road bike and a personal bike fitting, together worth over £4,000. And that's not all. The lucky winner will also receive a cash prize of £10,000. For your chance to win the bike and £10,000 cash, text the word WIN to 65557. Text costs £1.50 plus one standard network rate message. You can also enter free at the website. Entrants must be 18 or over. Entries made after lines close on Monday the 14th of July at 1 p.m. will not be counted, but may still be charged.
This is the last sector of cobblestones now. And Vincenzi Nibali, who looked to be struggling on the cobblestones, is now taking the race on. He's trying to hang on here to an absolutely rampant Lars Boom.
Well, this is the final section of cobblestones on its way to Wallers. It's 1.6 kilometers in length. This man is bouncing over the cobblestones, but he looks good on his machine. He looks comfortable on the cobblestones as Lars Boom now is trying to take off.
Spur wheels being held high should they have the misfortune to flat on these cobblestones. They ride down the centre because the water runs to the edges. And the yellow jersey now just trying to control the Belkin rider, Lars Boom.
Yep, 40 kilometers an hour at the head of the race. That's 25 miles an hour. Yellow jersey throws it around that corner, but he will not take the risk the Dutchman at the head of this race is likely to employ.
6 kilometers to go. We're running out of road for these riders. The yellow jersey is still very much the man going places today in the Tour de France. Lars Boom has lost too much time. He won't be taking the lead. The victory will be very nice, though, for this big, strong Dutchman, a man who revelled in bad conditions as a world cross-country champion, cyclocross.
Final section of cobblestones for these guys too as they go through the Pont Gibus. It's a nasty section of cobblestones. This there is Sebastian Langeveld, the Dutch national champion. These are second and third on the road. The Fin du Secteur Pavé, the last section of cobblestones for today with 5 kilometers to go. Lars Boom leads. Jakob Fuglsang is in first position of the chasers. Just behind him is his own teammate and team leader, the race leader, Vincenzo Nibali.
No more cobblestone roads now, just the rain is the final enemy here as they go into the last 3 miles of the race today. 5 kilometers, but they've got to try and pick up Lars Boom. This is a very strong man, well capable of taking the victory here.
The yellow jersey is now trying to put time between himself and everybody else in this race. Behind him is a group containing Peter Sagan at 34 seconds. Talansky's group is 2 minutes 3 seconds behind, while Alberto Contador is 2.5 minutes back. But don't worry about all of those guys. This man, look at the way he's pedaling here. At this moment, Phil, he probably can't even feel the pain. His body is asking him to stop pushing it through this pressure at the moment, and he knows he's just got to keep going for just a couple more minutes. 3.6 kilometers to go. That's about 4.5 minutes left for the man at the front of this race, Lars Boom, to win a stage of the Tour de France.
Peter Sagan sat at the back there now, still in a good point scoring position to consolidate that green jersey competition. But they're saying 5 seconds to Nibali and Jakob Fuglsang, to the man up front. But now he's just gritting his teeth. He's in his 4th Tour de France. He's never finished higher than 105th in the Tour de France. And you remember when he abandoned on stage 13 in 2011. Unlucky for him then. But today on this atrocious stage, Lars Boom is going to ride to victory here, I think. 3 kilometers to go. Geraint Thomas bringing Richie Porte, guiding him off the last section. Got this man is doing the ride of a life to try and put Richie Porte back into the seat vacated by Chris Froome. 3 kilometers to go, but this is for the group Peter Sagan here as they've gone up. Ahead of them now is Bohm, ahead of them is Jakob Fuglsang. Fuglsang is actually slowing a bit now. He's coaxing at Nibali, the maillot jaune of the Tour de France, to hug his back wheel. He'll guide him to the finish. That's his job now. 2 kilometers to go. What an escape by Lars Boom.
2 kilometers corresponds to about 2.5 minutes of effort. That's all he's looking for. The man who's consolidating his lead in the overall standings, though, is in 2nd and 3rd position with his own teammate on the road. This is Andrew Talansky. He's actually trying to catch himself back up to Richie Porte and Geraint Thomas. He's seen the possibility. He knows that, again, he can steal some time over Alberto Contador on a day like this.
but this is the rider setting himself up for the win. Wise man, making sure that Nibali isn't coming back.
Well, when you think about this guy's pedigree, Phil, and you go back to being the national junior cyclocross champion, well, Alberto Contador, what's he doing here this afternoon?
Well, I think he's got his eye. He might be unhitching from his group here because he's got a team car behind him. He has not enjoyed his day. That's the group. He's actually being dropped from the group at the moment as we come in sight now. It is 1 kilometre to go for Lars Boom, the Dutchman. This is going to go down as one of the greatest victories in a modern-day Tour de France. The roads are still swimming in water. He takes it carefully. He has all the skills of a cyclocross world champion. He's probably the only man in the race who has actually enjoyed these conditions today.
Yeah, but look at the time, Phil. We're looking at almost 100 miles in 3 hours and 17 minutes over the cobblestones of the north of France, and he still will not slow down. He won't slow down until he can raise his arms to the sky and cross as a victor of a monumental stage, a historic stage, I'd have to say. There's the thumbs up. He knows he's got it in the bag now. That sign, the yellow sign, will tell him just 500 metres to go. 30 or 40 seconds.
98 miles in the incredible time of 3 hours, 18 minutes for Lars Boom. The Dutchman is living the happiest moment of his cycling career, and he's been a world champion in the winter sport of cyclocross. And you'll be forgiven in thinking that this isn't the cyclocross race we are watching today. The 5th day of the Tour de France. The people have stood here soaking wet waiting. This is the ride of his life. It won't be a yellow jersey, but it'll be the best memory of his cycling career for Lars Boom. Punches the air, but what about the ride behind? Because coming up now is Vincenzo Nibali, the maillot jaune of the Tour de France. He's not a one-day classic rider. He is going to go to bed tonight the happiest man in the Tour de France, because he not only keeps his lead, but he increases it overall tonight, and it'll be increased ahead of his own teammate in front of him there. Jakob Fuglsang will be sitting second.
Well, Phil, that is quite a phenomenal performance by Team Astana, Vincenzo Nibali, champion of Italy and real champion of France this afternoon.
Fabian Cancellara, the favourite on many people's lips as well today. It didn't quite work out for him, but just look at the state of these riders as they come home. And that is Kekele, who's going to have a little dig for the sprint finish. He's going to take on Peter Sagan, who wants himself the green jersey points. Did anybody dare attack the green jersey of the Tour de France? Peter Sagan is coming at him, though, and he's going to get best of the rest from this group.
Well, Sagan once again wrapping up a number of points there. 5th place over the line for Fabian Cancellara. Louis Vestre, great job of work done by him.
I'll tell you, there isn't a man, this looks like Kwiatkowski coming up here, there isn't a man in this race that isn't so happy to see this stage behind them. It has been an incredible day. Looking here at the speckled, dirty polka dot jersey of the King of the Mountains, Cyril Lemon. Remember, the clock is the clue now. Time, real time, being gained by Nibali as he now goes clear of the field in the Tour de France tonight. Great ride though by Cyril Lemon. Terrific.
Well, bit of bad luck for him as well then. Now let's have a look who's in this group. There's Mark Renshaw there in the black jersey of Omega Pharma. I'm still looking for the big overall contenders. A little bit further back there. Well, that looks like Richie Porte has ridden himself back up here. He's going to be next of the rest, and that, I think, would have to be a big thank you to Geraint Thomas.
There he comes, Richie Porte, and what's the line? 2 minutes 11 on the winner. He's about 2 minutes behind Nibali. There's the hero that got in there. Talansky's in the group just behind. He tried to catch up with the Sky Duo, didn't quite make it, but he's gained time on Alberto Contador, and quite a little bit of time at the moment. There's Van Garderen in the centre with the red. He's also gained time over the favourite Alberto Contador. Just wondering who the favourite is now, though.
Well, there is Contador. Alejandro Valverde was in that group with TJ Van Garderen, but Alberto Contador has not enjoyed the cold of the northern part of France here this afternoon. He will have lost by the end of the day pretty close to 2.5 minutes over Vincenzo Nibali.
So a fantastic result for the Astana leader in the race for the yellow jersey, and a brilliant ride from Belkin's Lars Bohm to take the stage win. He had 19 seconds over Fuglsang and Nibali on the line. Peter Sagan, Fabian Cancellara and Jens Kukulera were 1 minute and 1 second down, just ahead of Michał Kwiatkowski and Liwa Westra. Of the other major contenders, Richie Porte was the first man in, 20th, 2:11 down. 21st was Geraint Thomas at 2:19, 22nd Andrew Talansky at 2:22, 26th Alejandro Valverde at 2:28. Then came TJ Van Garderen in 31st place. Alberto Contador was 37th, 2 minutes 54 behind the winner, 2:35 behind Nibali. Now, Omen watchers, rune readers and assorted straw-clutching gamblers might like to note the nationality of today's stage winner. Marcel Kittel's win yesterday preceded his national team's 7-1 thrashing of Brazil in the World Cup. Dutch fans will be hoping for a repeat for the Netherlands against Argentina tonight. At the risk of stretching the association, England, of course, failed to reach the knockout stage. And the big home news was the sad sight of Chris Froome limping out of the race and into the team car.
I think he was just behind me when he crashed. I heard it and I was like, well, that sounds like nasty. And then I heard on the radio that it was Froome, so it wasn't good. But, you know, we knew going into today that we had Richie as well. And it was kind of a two-pronged sort of attack. They were both on an equal sort of footing in the team. So it changed then, all for Richie. And, yeah, I think it was a pretty successful day, really, when you look at that.
You did that little attack about 13k out on the cobbles, dragged Richie across. That was ballsy. Who made the shout?
I did. I saw Contador was struggling a bit on the cobbles, on like sector 4, 3. So I just said, Richie, get on my wheel and we'll just smash it and see what happens. And I actually really enjoyed it. I was stressing a bit before the race, but once it all sort of broke up and you could kind of take your own line, it wasn't quite as stressful, and it was awesome. It was like it was good fun, but obviously losing for me is not good. But Richie, I think he's in some good form. So
Geraint upbeat and up for the fight as always, and here's how the fight looks now. Vincenzo Nibali still leads the race by 2 seconds, but only from his teammate Jakob Fuglsang. Peter Sagan is third, Michał Kwiatkowski fourth at 50 seconds. Jurgen van den Broek is sixth behind Fabian Cancellara on the same time as Tony Gallopin. Richie Porte, the new de facto Sky leader, is 8th at 1:54. Andrew Talansky and Alejandro Valverde are 9th and 10th at 2:05 and 2:11. TJ Van Garderen is also 2 minutes 11 seconds down, 5 seconds ahead of Geraint Thomas. They all lost time to Nibali today, but all gained it on Bauke Mollema and Alberto Contador. 18th and 19th at 2:27 and 2:37 behind Vincenzo Nibali, who was fending off suggestions at the end that he'd taken enough time today to win the Tour.
Non si può dire di aver vinto il Tour de France oggi, però è stata una giornata fantastica ma terribile perché è molto dura, strada scivolosa, pavé scivoloso, veramente tantissimo stress. Devo dire soltanto grazie ai miei compagni, a Astana, perché veramente hanno corso in modo perfetto, tutti molto vicino a me.
Well, he tried to take on the cobbles Chris Froome, weakened wrist and all, but he didn't even get the chance. This is the last we saw of him today, helmet still on as if ready to ride in the rear passenger seat of the team car.
In sport, things tend to go your way or they don't, and I think the crash yesterday and then you know, crashing before it got to cobbles today is kind of it's obviously very, very disappointing and devastating for Chris, but you know, that's sport really, and we keep on going, and Richie was in as our, you know, second rider for GC, and I thought he did ever so well. So I think whilst the day started off in a challenging way, I think it ended up pretty well, to be honest.
How was Chris this morning before the stage? Obviously in pain.
Yeah, he was in pain, you know, there's no denying that, and I think when you have got an injury like that, particularly, you know, you couldn't have had a worse moment to hurt your wrist the day before, you know, the cobble sections or a cobbled stage. So it's obviously going to be challenging, and it's got to play in your mind a little bit. You know, he's human after all, but he's very, very brave, and he was really up for it, and he wanted to really fight for today. But I think, you know, when you actually see the crash that finally took him out, I think it was on a roundabout, you know, and so, you know, these things happen.
We know Richie's a good rider, a realistic prospect for the podium, Dave.
He's a good rider, you know, and that's why we've chosen him to be, you know, to be our backup GC, and. he's climbing better than he's ever climbed, that's for sure. And I think if we can get to the mountains unscathed, then it's all to play for.